Fela we omi lo ma lo. If you want go wash, now water you go use. To ba fe se be omi lo ma lo. If you want cook soup, now water you go use. Tori bangbo na omi le rore o. If your head is hot.
Well, first of all, it's a very, very important part of our life. We are in a coastal city. I come from Bayelsa. We've had several floods. Many people have died. Lagos is filled with man-made trash, plastic, clogging all the gutters. There are usually floods in Lagos. It's dangerous. People can get killed. People can't get to work. Cars are flooded. Buses flooded. It's a global environmental problem. And if we don't stop the pollution, we're all going to be in trouble. The worst part is man-made. So the song, Water No Get Enemy, I don't know how Fela came about it in the 70s, but it's brilliant. And now we're talking about it. So I think it's the right thing to do for any right-thinking person to try to protect the environment. Plastic is the biggest problem that we have. It has to be banned at state, local government, and the federal government, and that'll go a long way. There's no need for us to have plastic. Nobody should be producing plastic in a modern era. They should find other ways to sell soft drinks and other ways to sell what you call pure water. But plastic is horrible, and if it's not degradable, then you have a big, big problem. They have to ban it, and they have to educate the people not to throw it in the gutters and places like that. And they shouldn't destroy the environment. I think that's the most important, the education. And then the government must ban it. And then they need to clean up the environment. They got to do all three simultaneously.
Distinguished guests, on behalf of the organizing committee, I welcome and invite you to 25 years of celebration. It's also noteworthy to remember that this is our 17th edition of the Fela Debate Symposium series. Today, our topic is Water No Get Enemy, as a continuation of our series on environmental discussions and sustainability issues, all in recognition of the fact that we need to save our world for future generations and our children's children. This is an imperative which we have taken upon, and this year we have chosen this topic. Last year, our topic was climate change and the geopolitics of it for Africa. We are now zeroing down on the issues that water pollution, also aspects to do with the heavy rainfall we are experiencing worldwide, flash floods, which are a menace to many for life and property, and of course coastal erosion. So, today, we have again got together our panel, and I would like to introduce, first of all, there's a change to our program, last minute change. The gentleman from Shell Foundation couldn't make it, and we have Mr. Aketude Disu of, I believe his company is called, Rite, yes. Right on the beach, I beg your pardon. And he has come in at short notice to replace the advertised speaker. Please, can you appreciate him? We also have the fact, I beg your pardon, I'm a bit confused this morning. Lagos State is one of our largest sponsors. And in demonstration of this commitment, we have here today the Honorable Commissioner for Water Resources and Environmental and Water Resources, I beg your pardon, Mr. Tokunbo Wahab. We also have from Rite Foods, Mr. Ekuma, who has been working as a corporate affairs for probably the largest indigenous soft drinks manufacturer in the country, Rite Foods, and is also in charge of their sustainability projects. And to lead us today is someone who needs little introduction. He was a speaker at our very first symposium event way back in 2009, 16 years ago. He is an advocate of youth development and a successful, probably the most successful entertainment mogul and business mogul in the country. Senator Ben Bruce. "16 years ago, he was one of our primary speakers at our inaugural edition of the Fela debates. And in commemoration of that, we have a very short 2-minute video to play to you, all in remembrance and retrospect of that monumental day. Gabriel, can you give us the video, please?
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I want to be here today as we celebrate the life of Fela. But I want to say that what the family has done has been totally remarkable.
Very interesting, don't you think? Here are some facts for us to deliberate upon on this topic today. Lagos State, with a population of over 20 million people, generates 13,000 tons of solid waste every day, which is basically a resource if treated properly. It's one of the topics I'm sure the commissioner who is giving his keynote address will look into for us. In a similar related vein, there are 14 million tons annually of plastic obstruction of the world's oceans, which is a threat to biodiversity and to vital marine ecosystems. Mr. Eze will look into that, I'm sure, also, in terms of his work to do with plastic pollution of our waterways and how we can help that. So, without further ado, I would like to call upon our chairman moderator to give his opening remarks and start the ball rolling. Let the debates begin. Can I also recognize Dr. John Asain, Director General of the Nigerian Copyright Commission, and Olori Data Matemiola, Her Royal Majesty, the wife of the Olowu of Owu. And also we have the Consul General of the Royal Embassy of Netherlands, one of our major sponsors, Mr. Michael Delin. Give it up, please, for our chair.
Thank you all very much. I had no idea I've been here for 16 years. It's a long time. Let me say how honored I am to be here today. I think when I spoke to Yeni Kuti, I invited myself here. Where's Yeni? Where is she? I invited myself. You didn't invite me. I invited myself here, right? I called you And I said to you, I hadn't been here for a while, and I need to come back. So I just want you to know I was not invited. I came here by myself. And then Yenny said to me she's in love. She's with a very handsome man there. They're getting married. Congratulations in advance. If that was a secret, I just let everybody know. Are you going to have babies? I have to ask. Anyway, listen. When you come to an event run by the Kuti family, there's only one thing you need to understand. There are no rules and regulations. This is not like some regular function you go to, right? I remember when Fela died, I was a member of the Fela Foundation. Later on, I was chairman for a little while. When we had meetings, I have to let you know, sometimes board members would jump on the table to make a point. This is the Fela way, okay? It's not like you're in a boardroom at Coca-Cola or Rite or Governor Sonwolu having a meeting. Anything can happen at any time. So we're here, so everybody can let loose. The topic is very, very important because it deals with the environment. It's a very, very important topic. It deals with the environment. When Fela wrote this song, I don't know if Fela was thinking about the blue economy at the time. But I tell you what, Fela was the kind of guy who could see the future. He understood life. He understood the environment. He could see the future. He was very, 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 very intelligent. A lot of people look at Fela and they don't see that. You have to understand, he was ahead of his time. He was very smart. He was very intelligent. He could take a complicated social problem, write a song in broken English, explain it, and a guy with a PhD would say, he's right. And a guy that didn't go to school would say, I can connect with him. And a guy in prison would say, I want to get out so I can be like him. That is how smart he was. He was super intelligent. Very, 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 very intelligent. And we must give him credit for that. I don't think a lot of people, when they talk about Fela, understand how smart he was. Because it takes a genius to take a complicated social, political, economic problem, several problems, write a song, and connect with the rich and the poor, the educated, the uneducated, Americans, Australians, Jamaicans, Nigerians, Africans, people from all over the world. It takes a genius. Now, if you look at the world, how many musicians can connect the way he did? How many politicians can connect the way he did? It's a rare talent. So here we are today, 30 years later. 30 years later, he wrote a song about the water not having an enemy. And he was right. And he is right. Now, what is the biggest problem? In Bayelsa, where I'm from, people die. People die because of flooding. In Lagos, where I live, sometimes you can't go to work because of the floods. And how many man-hours have we lost? But we're also lucky to have a governor like Governor Sonwolu, who is one of the best governors in this country today. He's smart. He understands the issues. I'm glad his commissioner is here today to explain what they're going to do. This cannot be a debate because everybody is on the same page. It's not a debate about right and wrong. Everybody agrees about environmental pollution is dangerous. Everybody agrees that plastic ultimately must be banned. We must find alternative way to sell our drinks, to sell our water, because ultimately plastic must be banned. There is no way around it. We have to find a way to make sure our gutters are clean. we, the government, federal, state, local government, must educate the public not to throw plastic and trash in the gutters. And the government must clean the environment on a daily basis. Many, many years ago, I remember, I don't think we have it anymore, every Saturday. Do we still have that? Okay. Governor Sonwolu is bringing it back. So give him a big round of applause. All right. So we must have that back. So since it's not a debate, it's a conversation. And I'm glad the Honorable Commissioner is here to make sure that whatever decisions we take today is transmitted to His Excellency. And since it's the same government as the federal and state, Governor Bola Tinubu will get the memo, and we can make it a national issue. So, on behalf of the Fela Foundation, I want to thank you all very much for coming. I think it's going to be a very, very exciting time, and let the conversations begin. Thank you very much.
Before I call on the Honorable Commissioner to address us, I would like to recognize in our midst today Dr. Muyiwa Gbadigeshi, who is the Lagos State Lawma Authority MD CEO, and is here with his Executive Director of Finance, Dr. Adebi. We also have with us Ricky Steen, Fela's manager in his lifetime, just coming from London yesterday. And of course, I will be most remiss if I don't say that we should also acknowledge Auntie Yemisi Ransom Kuti, the doyen and head of the Ransom Kuti family. Auntie Yemisi has been with us right from inception. You might have seen a shot of her in that video when she was the chairman. So, our Honorable Commissioner, can we call upon you? Thank you.
Let me start by acknowledging the presence of the Senator represented by ESA and the chairman and moderator of the event, Senator Ben More-Bruce. The convener of celebration, Ms. Yeni Kuti, who ensured I had to readjust my schedule to be here this morning. The Consul General of the Netherlands, my friend, with whom we've had several engagements with respect to the state of the environment in Lagos, Nigeria, and global, Mr. Michael Deland. Other guest speakers, especially my brother and friend, Mr. Disu. The Fela family here seated, invited guests, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. For those who don't know or who are not familiar with Fela, this particular song, Water No Get Enemy, is 50-year-old this year. This song was released by Fela in 1975. 75 to 2025 is exactly 50 years, 5 decades. So Fela means different things to different people. For some, he's a prophet because he can see the future. For some, social crusader because he uses his music to speak to the ills of society. Name it. Is it army arrangement or VIP, vagabonds in power, or coffee for head of state? Just name it. So Fela means different things to different people. But today, we are speaking about water no get enemy. So for those who are familiar with Lagos, let me put it in a context. Lagos, as a state, is the smallest state in the country with 3,577 square kilometers of land. A third of this is water. Lagos is abutted on the southern boundary by the Atlantic, where we have about 187 kilometers of our boundary with the Atlantic Ocean. Then we have our creeks, we have our swamps, we have our lagoons, streams, and rivers. But Lagos also houses 10% of the country's population, which means we have over 20 million people in Lagos and growing daily. So the theme for today's deliberation, Water No Get Enemy, released by Fela in 1975, draws from Fela's iconic lyrics and reminds us all that water is indispensable to life. So if you are familiar with this song, to bath omi náà ló máa lò. If you want to go bath, na water you go use. Kò sóhun tó lè ṣe kó o má lomi o, nothing without water. Speaks to the indispensable nature of water to our life. Yet in Lagos, through human pollution, blocked drainage system, and neglect, we too often treat water as an enemy. The celebration, a forum grounded in social consciousness, is therefore a fitting place to examine our relationship with water vis-à-vis the environment. In this address, I will show how Lagos's past and future are inseparable from water. And that is why they say Lagos, Eko, Aromisa, Legbe, Legbe. I will highlight our coastal heritage, the present challenges of flooding and waste, and the collective action required to address them. My aim is to galvanize youth, NGOs, community leaders, to partner with government in safeguarding our city's water, so that water is our friend, not our foe. This thesis is straightforward for me. Lagos's waterways sustain our development and must shape our future. We will consider how the city grew with water, what has gone wrong in the system today, flooding, the population, the poor waste system that had been practiced by our people, what government is doing to fix it, and why public advocacy and community participation like what we are having today are essential to a lasting solution. By the end of this session, I hope everyone here seated and those that are not even here will understand why we should galvanize a citywide movement for a sustainable urban environmental stewardship. Now, let's start with the historical overview of Lagos, a city shaped by water, geography, and its origin. Lagos is a coastal city built on islands, crisscrossed by lagoons and creeks, and guarded from the Atlantic by barriers of island and sand spits. It's no accident that the Portuguese named Lagos, meaning lakes. Water is literally our name as Lagos. Hence, the earliest inhabitants, who are the Aworis, settled by the Lagos Lagoon as fishermen, and water was central to their livelihood and existence. For centuries, the Lagos waterways was Lagos's lifeline. Lagos, before roads and bridges, traded in canoes across the rivers. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, over 70% of Lagos's exports, that's palm oil, canals, etc., moved from lagoon and river canoes. The Ogo River and Lagos Lagoon Network formed an ancient trade artery underpinning Lagos's economy. This symbiotic relationship meant the city depended on its river and lagoons for food, for transport, and for commerce. Water wasn't our enemy, it was a source of our prosperity. Our cultural ties and social ties with water. Water also shaped our community life. Coastal and lagoon fishing communities thrived, from Ekpe to Maroko to Apapa to Ijora to Makoko to Badagry to Ikorodu. Sprung up at ferry jetties, even Lagos's cultural heritage is tied to the water. The legend has it that the legend of Olofin floating crown that sank in the Lagos Lagoon, guiding the city's base for foundation. In short, Lagos grew from water, and water has always been our ally in sustenance and growth. Ìkúlólòkun ló lọ́sà, àwa lọ́lọ́run fún. Èkún ò ṣe gbé lọ anywhere. Ọ̀sà ò ṣe gbé lọ anywhere. Lagos is blessed with the Atlantic Ocean. Lagos is blessed with the lagoon and the rivers. You can't take them anywhere. It's our own heritage. Now, the evolution of Lagos, drainage system and water infrastructure. Let's start with the colonial era water supply. As of 1915, the colonial Governor Frederick Lord Lugard commissioned the first water works from Iju to Lagos Island, supplying 2.5 million gallons a day of pipe-borne water. This also helped Lagos to reduce the reliance on borehole and wells as at then. And our subsequent decades, the Iju plant has expanded substantially, reaching 45 million gallons per day as of 1985. The new facility was added because of the growing nature of the city. Contemporary water demand. Despite our early pipe-borne water from Iju in 1915 to Lagos, Lagos water supply struggles has become very real, understandably because of the growing population where we have over 20 million people. Our target, according to our master plan, is to supply 75 million gallons per day. However, we have a current installed capacity of 210 million gallons per day, far below the demand of the 20 million plus population. This shortfall means many households lack pipe-borne water. Hence, drilling of private borehole or buying sachet water has become a thing instead, for them to ensure they have a drinkable water in their homes. So let's go to drainage infrastructure development. On this front, Lagos historically had an inadequate drainage network, which contributed to periodic flash flooding. The first comprehensive drainage master plan was conceived in the 1970s, guiding where channels and canals should be built. In 2015, a new master plan focused on primary drainage channels, major natural outlets for storm waters. However, since 2023, this government of Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu has focused on the formulation of secondary drainage master plan to map and improve secondary and tertiary drains across local communities. This is essentially a 40-year blueprint to safeguard Lagos from drainage issues and flooding network issues. Infrastructure progress. Over the years, however, Lagos has constructed concrete drainage channels, embankments, and levees in flood hotspots. There have been efforts to install pumping stations like what we have at Ilubiri on Lagos Island to help deflood the whole of Lagos Island. And we are also installing same around the Ikate to help deflood the Ikate region. And elevate road levels because of low-lying areas. The city regularly clears its silt. And in the past 1 year, we have cleared about 666 kilometers of silt statewide. And solid waste from drains, especially before the rainy season, as a preemptive measure. Drainage infrastructure has improved since the early 2010s, after major flood prompted action. However, the challenges still remain as the city's expansion and climate pressure, this is the operative word, climate pressure outpaces infrastructure growth. And that is why even in developed climes in Europe, Western Europe, and America or Asia, they are experiencing flooding. It's going on in Spain now, where about the whole of Ibiza is under the waters. Valencia, areas of Barcelona have been flooded in the past 2-3 days. These are the realities of our lives. Key challenges in Lagos aquatic environment and waste management. Lagos's water and waste challenges can be grouped into 3 interconnected issues: flash flooding, pollution, and informal waste disposal. We'll start with the frequent flash flooding and climate risk. Flood-prone landscape. That is because Lagos is a city low-lying and flat as a state, coastal state, with much of its metropolis barely above the sea level. Heavy rainfall easily overwhelms its drainage capacity, leading to flash floods in streets and neighborhoods. Being a coastal city, Lagos also faces the ocean's force, which is, if there is climate risk, you have high sea level, you have excessive heat, and you have excessive rain. Once these 3 elements are in place, you have a tidal lock. Tidal lock simply means the storm water from the rain cannot be discharged from your houses, from your streets, from your roads into the natural outlet, the lagoon or the sea. Hence, you have what we call the backwash or tidal lock. This means even moderate rainfall can back up and flood areas when the sea level are high. Rising sea and sinking land. Climate change has amplified the risk. The city of Lagos is experiencing sea level rise, and some studies indicate that land itself is sinking due to groundwater extraction and sediment compaction by up to 87 millimeter per year. This combination of a sea rise and sinking land is an ominous one for us as a state. In 2021, an assessment warned that by 2100, half of Lagos, coastal city, could be at the risk of being underwater. If adaptive, that is the operative word, if adaptive measures are not taken. Already, coastal erosion, as we know it today, has eaten away some parts of our native villages on the shoreline of Lagos. If you go to around Okwaja, you can see it and experience it. Wetland loss and unplanned development. Uncontrolled urban growth has removed the natural flood buffers. Nearly 59% of Lagos's wetlands were lost in the past decade, often filled in for housing or degraded by sand mining. These wetlands used to act as a sponge for excess rain. Losing them directly means we are exposing ourselves to the vagaries of nature. Additionally, building on floodplains and blocking drainages with structures aggravates water logging. The government has identified and is taking action on illegal dredging. illegal land mining, illegal sand reclamation, and building on floodplains or wetland. And you must have noticed in the past 2 years, we've removed contraventions that were built on our wetlands. We've also been deliberate to remove contraventions without caring whose socks is God, from Ikoyi to Lekki to Langbasa to Badagry to Ikorodu to Ikeja, any form of obstruction on our waterways. We've also done that even as our last weekend on the Lekki corridor. Painfully, young, prosperous Lagosians doing the auto business built to encumber our wetland and under the power tension lines. And we had to respectfully tell them, remove your vehicles. You can't sell under the high tension. You have to give them for our wetland. Or else, this corridor will keep flooding. Then the human impact. The human toll of flood is growing. The first citywide flood crisis in recent history was recorded in 2012, 2013. And since then, Lagos has seen annual flood emergencies. And we've been proactive in the past few years to ramp up capacity and give resilient infrastructure in this regard. I'll go to pollution of waterways and improper waste disposal. Lagos, as you know, generates over 13,000 tons of waste a day. Municipal solid waste a day. This is humongous. And it's not due to any other thing than our linear waste management practices for years. And that is why you find a place like Olushosu in the heart of Ikeja, or also the street around the Limosho corridor. And we are seeking to decommission them. Thankfully, the government of Netherlands has been working with us, and we've had a collaboration involving Dutch companies, Harvest Waste, and Closing the Loop. Harvest Waste for our waste to energy project, and Closing the Loop for electronic waste project. Thanks, Mr. Consular General. And in recent years, we've also been very firm and decisive. Decisive to save this climate and save this state and this nation. What have we done? We chose to implement the report of UNEP, that's United Nations Environment Program, which says Lagos, after an audit, about 34 kilograms of plastic waste per person is generated per year. And then it means about 10 plastic bottles are tossed up into our environment a day per person. This is not acceptable. Hence, we chose to use data to show boldness and political will. Thanks to Mr. Governor, we banned single-use plastics and we banned styrofoam. Knowing fully well, styrofoam contains elements that could lead to cancer. Styrofoams are non-biodegradable elements for 500 years. They will still be in the system. So why were we encouraging them for decades? Water no get enemy, but we rely on water. Yet we are choking with the garbages. When it rains, torrents flash up a lot of our streets with gutter canals blocked by our own waste. Experts note that many floods in Lagos are caused not just by heavy rainfall, by drain blockages mainly, from non-biodegradable trash, especially styrofoam. The sight of canals filled with styrofoam floating like lilies has sadly become something of the past. This solid waste accumulation turns water into an enemy by preventing it from flowing. Water must not get enemy. Informal waste disposal habit. A root cause of this pollution is the persistence of informal and improper waste disposal. Let me also give an insight. Lagos, years back, set up what we call a PSP model structure. Set up a Lagos Waste Management Authority. With these two agencies, we have a collaboration from PSP operators to the extent that they collect the waste generated statewide. We have 377 wards in the state, and we have PSPs for each of the words. Unfortunately, people are used to free riding the system. They don't want to pay for waste generated. Hence, you see them taking their waste at times 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in a nylon to go and dump on the median or in the gutter. And you tell me what, I don't get any. Scale of the problem. The waste and pollution isn't just local. Nigeria as a whole is one of the world's biggest plastic polluters. Nigeria generates about 2.5 million tons of plastic waste every year and has been ranked 6th globally in mismanaged plastic waste. A good chunk of that is concentrated in Lagos, unfortunately. Given its population of about 20 million people and commercial volume, more than 130 tons of plastic enter Nigeria waters annually, according to the studies we have. Much of it via Lagos drainage outlets. These figures underline that we are dealing with a crisis that is both immediate and generational. Unless we dramatically improve our waste management and stop the flow of trash into our waters, we risk permanent damage to our marine ecosystem. And a city that becomes unlivable due to a coastal constant garbage and flood will not be the lot of our state, Lagos State. Institutional and behavioral change. Inadequate infrastructure against urban growth. Lagos' infrastructural development has not kept pace with its booming population. Studies show us that over 4,000 come into Lagos a day to stay. Over 4,000. Close your eyes and imagine it. Last week, I paid an unscheduled visit to the new bridge constructed by the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Olusola. This bridge, by the way, is yet to be commissioned. Chairman, what we found under the bridge was heart-wrenching. People had already taken shelter, over 100 staying under that bridge, raising children under the bridge. How do we account for that? Yes, you tell me there are housing shortages, but must you stay in Lagos if you have no business in Lagos? You don't have to, with due respect. Millions of people have migrated into the city in recent decades, often settling in unplanned communities without a proper drainage or waste service. This puts enormous strain on existing system and is a vicious circle. Overcrowded neighborhood generates more waste and encroach on floodplains, making technical solutions more complex. Enforcement gaps. There are laws and regulations, and I've said to several people, I assumed office 2 years and 2 weeks ago as the Commissioner for the Environment and Water Resources in Lagos State. I also know there is a law that was passed in 2017, Lagos Environmental Management Law. And my take had always been, with due respect, no matter the beauty of your prose, no matter the beauty of your campaign poetry, if you have a law you can't enforce, you are a failed state. We must attach consequences to bad behavior, especially when there is a law in place, irrespective of who ought to be God. Now, there are laws and regulations, for example, against building on drainage right of way, or against dumping waste in your drainages or on the median. But enforcement has been uneven. Agencies sometimes look the other way. However, the government is becoming more vigilant. We now urge the public to report violations like structures blocking the drains or anybody dumping waste at any illegal spot, so that they can be swiftly removed and offenders prosecuted. The recent focus on enforcing the polluter pays principle, making those who pollute financially responsible for cleanup is a deliberate step from the state government, and be rest assured, we shall not drop the ball on this. Public awareness and attitude. Historically, many Lagosians did not see the connection between individual actions and citywide outcomes. Throwing a plastic bag in the gutter seemed inconsequential until you realize that millions of such acts create mountains of trash in our canals. The mindset that water will carry our waste away must change, because now we see that the waste comes right back to flood our streets. Improving public consciousness is a challenge, but also an opportunity. With better education, people, especially the youths, are showing willingness to participate in cleanups and recycling when they are understood and the stakes mentioned to them. Building a culture of environmental responsibility is crucial for long-term change. I will now speak on government policies and interventions addressing the challenges. Despite the daunting challenges, Lagos has been proactive in crafting policies, launching interventions for water resources management, climate resilience, and waste control. Here, I will outline key government efforts. 1. Strategic planning, policy framework. The current administration of Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu has mainstreamed environmental issues into his agenda. Lagos has developed a climate adaptation and resilience plan, and this was launched at COP28 in Dubai, outlining how to build resilient infrastructure, protect communities, and sustain the environment in the face of climate change. Water resources management features prominently in this plan. Additionally, the state has a climate action plan developed with C40 city networks and in alignment with national efforts such as Nigeria's Climate Change Act to meet sustainability targets. These plans provide a vision from flood mitigation projects to carbon reduction projects, ensuring policies are not ad hoc, but part of a coherent strategy. The state had even gone beyond putting this on paper by also commissioning a pre-feasibility study with respect to bankable projects that would interest people in the private sector to the extent that they can invest. And those have been outlined in Lagos's LCAP. Flood control and drainage improvement. To combat flooding, Lagos has adopted a mix of infrastructure upgrade and continuous maintenance. The Office of Drainage Services under the Ministry of Environment now operates an all-year-round drainage clearance program, dredging canals, desilting gutters, and clearing collector drains on a rolling schedule. This is a shift from the past, when drainage clearance was more reactive or seasonal. The government is also constructing new drainage systems in emerging suburbs and communities. The government is also expanding existing channels where bottlenecks are identified. And that's the case we have around the Kushela Road at Ikate, where Governor Fashola gave a world-class infrastructure drainage before he left office in 2015. However, we found out that the community had built up so much that we needed to give them additional infrastructure to augment or complement what they have on ground, because water will always find its way if you block it. Hence, for long-term guidance, as mentioned, a secondary drainage master plan for 40 years is in the development. With input from engineers and local stakeholders, this plan will identify new drain alignments, required retention basins, and other flood defenses in areas like Ikorodu, Etiosa, Aja, and Alimosho that are prone to flash floods. Importantly, our administration emphasizes collaboration. Hence, we held different stakeholders meetings between 2023 to date to gather expert and community input on the drainage master plan. This inclusive approach aims to ensure designs are effective and locally accepted and owned by the people. We also have our emergency preparedness. This is done with an agency called LASEMA, Lagos State Emergency Management Authority. Then let's talk about coastal defense and climate resilient projects. Recognizing the threat of sea level rise and coastal erosion, Lagos has embarked on ambitious proactive projects. One high-profile example is what they call the Great Wall of Lagos, a massive sea revetment built to shield the Eco-Atlantic City development on Victoria Island. For those who are familiar with Lagos, and I'm glad Senator Ben Bruce is the chairman today, the whole of the island called Victoria Island, and even Lekki will have gone under today. Because between the late 90s and early 20s, every year the surge was taking on VI, and it has taken up the whole of Ahmadu Bello. Until the incumbent president of the country, who was then a governor, insisted that there must be a scientific solution to this problem. And that solution is what we have today as the biggest real estate in the whole of Africa, Eco-Atlantic. That wall has proven effective at halting Atlantic encroachment along that segment of the coast. Now, the state is exploring broader coastal defense solutions. Just this month, last month, September 2025, Lagos held its first waterfront summit, focused on protecting Lagos Lagoon and coast. From that summit came a bold plan, which includes establishing a Lagos Lagoon protection policy and a dedicated Lagos Lagoon Management Authority. The government also signed an MOU with an international consortium, including the Dutch expert, to study and implement coastal protection measures like beach nourishment and sea walls, where needed mangrove restoration and wetland conservation are being prioritized natural defenses. We're also thinking of putting in place a formal legislation that will protect our wetlands, as in set up a law for wetland as a state. With calls to integrate mangrove buffers into urban planning, these steps show a clear commitment to making Lagos more climate resilient and safeguarding communities along our shorelines. Waste management reforms, waste to wealth, waste to energy. Our waste front, Lagos has been overhauling its waste management ecosystem for the past 2 years, with a dual aim of environmental sanitation and resource recovery. A flagship policy is to view waste as a resource, not as trash. But we now have a waste to wealth policy thanks to the Dutch government, and the waste to wealth thanks to our collaboration with the Ghanaian company, and then waste to energy thanks to our collaboration with the Dutch government and the Dutch company, Harvest Waste. In practical terms, this has led to partnership and projects for recycling and energy generation from waste. For instance, the state conducted pre-feasibility studies for waste-to-energy plants and assigned the contract with a Ghana-based company to process 4,000 of our 13,000 tons of municipal waste daily. If this project succeeds, it could divert nearly a third of the city's daily waste from landfills, turning it into a compost fertilizer or recyclable plastics. I have also noted this, that once this succeeds, we seek to decommission the notorious Olusoso dump site and then the Solo Street dump site around the Godo and Limosho axis. In addition, Lagos is launching the Blue Box Initiative, a program encouraging households to sort recyclables into special blue smart bins for collection, while still scaling up. The Blue Box program aims to instill a culture of recycling at source, reducing the volume of waste that reaches the dump sites or streets. I've said this every time, and I'll keep saying it. Waste management is a culture, and that culture is what we must imbibe as a people. Go all over the world, each household knows that on a certain day, the waste collector will come. Maybe your blue bin will be for your regular waste, your black will be for your bottles, maybe your green for your green waste, and you have to separate them before you take them out. That's a culture they built over time, and that's a culture we must build as a state. Policy to curb plastic pollution. Responding to the plastic crisis, Lagos State made a landmark move in 2024 by banning single-use plastic called styrofoam. This ban, now in enforcement, directly tackles one of the most problematic waste items clogging the drains. On July 1st this year, the state extended the ban to other single-use plastics like disposable bags and straws in phases. This policy aligns with the national and global trends. Nigeria's federal government and its lawmakers are considering a nationwide plastic phase-out, and Lagos is leading by example on subnational action. To support the ban, the government has been running an awareness campaign about environmental and health damages caused by plastics and encouraging innovation in packaging alternatives. Loma and waste collection enhancement. The Lagos State Waste Management Authority has expanded its operations to include marine waste collection through a dedicated marine waste unit. This agency deploys specialized boats to remove debris from our waterways, has recently also installed screens at 22 canal outlets along the 5 Cowrie creeks. And you can know why we were successful at the hosting of the E1, thanks to Mr. Governor's initiative and vision. Now, let's talk about the emphasis on advocacy and public engagement and community participation. A recurring theme in all this effort is that government action alone is not enough. Public engagement is in the linchpin for sustaining water and environmental health. I have consistently called for community ownership of environmental initiatives. Here is how advocacy and participation are being elevated. Community sensitization. The state runs frequent public enlightenment programs. This range from school environmental clubs, teaching students from primary to secondary to tertiary about hygiene, recycling, and tree planting, to community meetings convened by local authorities and stakeholders, CDAs and CDCs on environmental sanitation, which we have already planned to introduce anytime from now in the state. Every year, the World Environment Day, Lagos organizes events to raise awareness, and this year's theme was beating plastic pollution. It resonated strongly with officials showcasing the city's plan and urged citizens to join the fight. This kind of messaging is being amplified via radio jingles, social media handles and campaigns, Cleaner Lagos, and partnership with influencers to spread the word to youth. Citizenship, reporting, and feedback. The government has also opened channels for citizens to be the eyes and the ears of the environment. A dedicated hotline and a mobile app allows residents to report issues like blocked drains, illegal dumping of refuse, on flood, and real-time issues. As mentioned, Officials even encourage residents, if anyone builds on drainage right of way, kindly take a video and send to us, and we enforce immediately. Youth engagement. From awareness to innovation, youth are at the heart of our advocacy efforts. The ministry has launched competition and grants for youth and young people to be creative and find solutions to this Lagos waste challenge, such as tech for recycling and creative public awareness campaign. And we have seen the youth coming together to push this agenda with us. The overarching message in all of this engagement effort is governments cannot do this alone. Lasting impact requires citizens to take ownership, motivated, equipped to take action on their own and in their own different corners. Whether it's a student picking up litter, a market leader enforcing cleanup rules, or a local chief mediating to stop people from filling a community wetland against the cause of nature. This collective ownership is the only way to sustain the gains from policy and infrastructure. Summary of recent initiative and success stories. Yes, people will tell you not to sing your own praises, but I'm an advocate of the fact that tell your story yourself. 1. Ban on single-use plastics. As mentioned earlier, Lagos State became one of the first in Nigeria to institute a ban on styrofoam food containers and related single-use plastic. Enforcement began in early 2024. Already, there are early signs of positive impact. Some eateries have switched to biodegradable packaging or reusable containers. The ban has also sparked conversations nationally with calls for federal law to ban plastic countrywide. This bold step shows Lagos's position as a leader in environmental policy. Secondary drainage master plan and stakeholders engagement. From November 2023, if my memory serves me right, the government organized high-profile workshop to gather input with respect to our secondary drainage master plan. Let me break this down. The primary channels are the natural river stream channels. We have restored that. It's been restored since the 70s, and that was why when some greedy individuals or developers chose to go build on Odoyalaro floodplain, we were decisive to remove them. People chose to politicize and dog whistle on them, but for us, it was overriding public interest. Odoyalaro was gazetted by General Mobolaji Johnson in 1974 and is the most critical of all the outlets to deflood Lagos mainland. Runs from Ogba down through Ikeja, down through Arowojobe into the Lagos Lagoon to discharge the storm water. So if somebody comes in the 20s, maybe 5 years ago, and chose without approval to build on that plain, and that old neighborhood starts to flood, what do you expect the government to do? To be decisive, irrespective of whose socks will be God. Overriding public interest supersedes individual interest. Waste to energy partnership, we've mentioned that of Zoom Lion, we've mentioned closing the loop, we've mentioned harvest waste, we've mentioned the one we're doing with LASG, taking our combustible waste to power their machines, and much more. All we are seeking to do is to turn waste into a resource and ensure that the linear waste collection system is over in Lagos. Hence, your waste goes to give you energy. Hence, your waste goes to give you wealth. Hence, your waste goes to give you positive impact. And then we can start reducing the quantum of waste that ends on our landfill. Lagos Lagoon Waterfront Summit, which I mentioned earlier, has set up the policy for us. Then we have our climate resilient plan adaptation, which has been activated. Lomas Marine Litter Program our enforcement drive, water supply improvement. And let me also mention this governor is putting his skin in the game. And I can say for a fact, as of last week, the raw water to be collected from the Ogun River into our 2 plant is almost completed. It's a massive heavy lifting done by this government. Call to action, collaboration for a sustainable Lagos. As we conclude, the message is clear. Securing Lagos's water and environmental health requires all hands on deck. Government will continue to lead with policies and projects. But true sustainability will only be achieved through active participation of every stakeholder, especially the youth, NGOs, community leaders present here today. I urge each and every one of us to take up this call. To the youth, you are the engine of innovation and the voice of tomorrow. We need you to champion environmental stewardship in your schools, universities, and neighborhoods. Start or join eco clubs. Use social media to raise awareness about issues like plastic pollution and climate change. Develop tech solutions, perhaps apps to report flooding or a creative way to recycle a waste. Your tech savvy and creativity are assets. Volunteer for tree planting and cleanup exercises. Encourage your peers to do the same. Importantly, hold us in government. I repeat, in caps, bold and italics, hold us in government accountable. Don't take your leg off our neck until we do the right things for you. Encourage us to also do the positive things that will impact this continent for your own future. Keep pushing for a greener Lagos with the same energy you push cultural movements. The future is yours, and your activism can ensure that Lagos' environment is protected for your generation and generation after. Remember, as Fela did say in his music, use your talent and voice to spark a change. Your advocacy, whether through art, technology, or community service, is powerful. The state will support youth-driven initiative, be it through grants or mentorship or platforms to showcase your ideas. So step forward and help us make water no get enemy, not just a slogan, but a living reality of our time in Lagos. To non-governmental organizations and civil society, you are our critical partners and conscience. NGOs in the environmental space have been doing remarkable work, from educating communities to piloting recycling programs and conducting independent research. We ask that you continue to amplify this effort, conducting independent research. We ask that you collaborate with government where possible. For example, if you have data or expertise on waste management, work with our agencies to improve strategies. Help us to engage communities deeply. Often, NGOs have the trust of the locals more than government, because globally, there is a mistrust for governments. Serve as a watchdog too. Monitor the implementation of policies like the plastic ban we are doing, as well as drainage projects, and give us feedback. Don't spare us where necessary, but also commend us where we do something right. Where you see gaps, propose solutions, not just criticisms. Also help us ensure inclusivity and justice in our environmental actions. For instance, advocating for the livelihood of waste pickers as we reform waste management, or ensuring that relocation of flood-prone communities is done humanely. The role of civil society in policy dialogue is invaluable as we move from planning to action. We will count on NGOs to bring domain expertise to help mobilize grassroots support. In summary, let's strengthen the government's NGO alliance to drive sustainable development for Lagos. We share the same end goal, a healthy and livable Lagos that will be for all and sundry. To the community leaders and traditional rulers, your leadership at the grassroots is pivotal. You are the influencers whom people on the street listen to and respect. We appeal to you to use your influence to foster an environmentally friendly community. Encourage your people to participate in sanitation when we formally introduce that. To desist from dumping waste in unauthorized places and to take care of local drainages, especially tertiary drainages that passes through in front of their houses. For example, a community head can organize a monthly cleanup and ensure everyone contributes to it. Such collective efforts build unity and solves problems. Also, be the liaison between your community and the government. Alert us on local environmental risks like an overflowing canal or a deteriorating dam before they turn into a disaster. Help enforce community rules that complement state laws. For example, bylaws against building on floodplains or cutting the mangrove. Many of you also oversee communal land or water. Consider setting aside areas as community conservation zones. Protect a mangrove patch. Maintain a floodplain as open space, as some riverine communities are doing. Furthermore, in time of crisis, like during flood, your role in coordinating relief and support is crucial. Thank you for what you already done. Thank you for what you're doing. We count on your wisdom and proximity to the people to drive home the point that environment is our life source. Preach it in your churches and mosques, not just prosperity. Discuss it in your town meetings, not just waiting there for me. Make everyone internalize that caring for water and environment as caring for ourselves. To the private sector and professionals, you have the resources and the expertise that can greatly boost our efforts. Industries must comply with regulations by treating waste and reducing emissions. Beyond that, adopt the extended producer responsibility. Take back used products and packaging so they don't end up in our environment. Lend your corporate social responsibility support to initiatives like providing waste bins to schools and disadvantaged communities, sponsoring recycling hubs, or funding climate education. Property developers, this is for you. Incorporate flood protection in your designs. Don't just build for profit, build for sustainability. Engineers, architects, urban planners, bring us ideas for green infrastructure. Help design eco-friendly drainage and waste water system for Lagos State. In essence, align your business goals with Lagos's environmental goals. A safe, a clean city benefits all, including the economy. To all the citizens of Lagos, whether you are here in this hall or listening afar, the environment is everybody's business. We must each ask ourselves, am I a friend to water or an enemy to water? Being a friend means simple action. Dispose of trash properly. Clean the gutters in front of your houses. Reuse and recycle items instead of single use. Conserve water. Plant a tree if you can. And support environmental policies even when they require changes in your habits and behavior. When we say water no get enemy, it implies water should not have us as enemies either. Let's pledge today to stop treating our drains and lagoons as reused bins. Let's pledge to support flood prevention by not clogging drains and allowing space for water to flow. And let's hold each other accountable. Politely remind your neighbor if they litter. Report issues when you see them. Celebrate those among us doing the right thing. Lagos is a mega city of over 20 million dreams. If we channel that collective energy, there is no problem too big. The government is ready to facilitate and support, but the real magic lies in the citizenry awakening to its civic duty. In the spirit of Fela's music and activism, this call to action is about raising our consciousness and then acting. Fela sang, water, you don't get enemy. Highlighting water's importance and neutrality is up to us as a people to ensure our actions don't turn water into our enemy. The future of Lagos, the center of excellence, the state of aquatic splendor, depends on this partnership between the government and the people. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude, let's reflect on the journey we have traversed in this speech. This song was 50 years ago and is still very, very alive in our lives today. From the history that showed Lagos thriving from its waterways to its current trials of flash flooding and waste management, to the ongoing effort to reverse the tide, and finally to our shared responsibility going forward. Lagos stands as a crossroad in 2025. We are a bustling, dynamic city facing the realities of a megacity and a climate change reality. Also, the urbanization rapidly coming at us. But I am optimistic because I see a government that is determined. I see communities that are becoming more aware. And I see youths and leaders in this very audience that are passionate about change. Water has been our friend. It sustained our ancestors. It nourishes our daily life. And water should never become our enemy. By cleaning our environment and managing water wisely, we befriend our future. The great Fela, the enigmatic Fela, used music to unite people for a cause. Today, let's unite to the cause of a greener, safer, environmentally friendly, and more sustainable Lagos. The legacy we leave for the next generation depends on action we take today. I invite you all to join hands with Lagos State government in this environmental transformation. If Lagos, Africa's largest city, can overcome these challenges, we set an example for the continent and the world. Let's make Lagos a model megacity that harmonizes with its water, where drains flow freely, where the lagoons sparkle, where no child has to fear flood, where water no get enemy. Because we, the people of Lagos, are true friends and stewards of water. Thank you for listening. God bless you.
Please give him a big round of applause one more time. You know, as I listened to him, one thing was clear. there's continuity in the leadership of Lagos. It's one of the best states in the country. Great leadership. But I have to admit, Tokunbo Phillips Wahab, as I listen to you, are you running for governor? He's not. I was only teasing him. Listen, he gave a great speech. Today is not a debate. We have a consensus of what needs to be done. And as you can see, Lagos State is taking the lead across the country. And Lagos State is doing a great job right from the time of Governor Tinubu to Governor Sanwo-Olu, and he's listed all the governors, all the policies and everything they've done over the years since 1999. They've done a great job. Unfortunately for us, Lagos is overpopulated. Like he said, people come into Lagos uninvited, and that's nice to have a beautiful city you can come to. But when you come uninvited and you live under the bridge, you create a problem. And we need to discourage that. And we're all people, we don't want to hurt anybody. But if you live under the bridge, you don't have much of a life. And if you build on a drainage system, you're doing a disservice to the people of Lagos. If you throw the trash in the gutter, and you shouldn't, you're creating a problem. You've said it all. We're running against time. I have to catch a flight myself. So let's give him one more big round of applause. And let me say this. If he decides to run, I'm going to vote for him. Okay? All right. Our next speaker is Head Corporate Affairs of Rite Foods. Mr. Ekuma is a great guy, runs a great company, the third largest drinks company in the country today. How many people here know Biggie? You all know Biggie? Great product. Great. Ms. Eze, please come here.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, please permit me to stand on the already established courses. Honorable Commissioner, I'm among those people that came to Lagos and never went back. Indeed, I was baptized into Lagos on the 12th of August, 1997. How many of you remember what happened on that day? You don't remember? Correct. That was the day the legendary Fela was buried. I had just been mobilized into the National Youth Service scheme to serve my country for the mandatory 1 year. I haven't just reported at my place of primary assignment. I decided to check up an uncle who at the time was teaching in King's College. And then I embarked on that journey that I never made because the whole of Lagos was completely shut down. I was on Third Mainland Bridge for more than 6 hours. At the end of the day, I had to turn back, not going to King's College, because the legendary Fela was buried on that same day. So, indeed, I had heard about Fela, having been born and grew up in the eastern part of Nigeria. I heard so much about him, heard so much about his music, but I never imagined the kind of love that people had for him. On that 12th of August 1997, I saw the practical expression of love of the people of Nigeria for this social reformer. Can you give it up for him, please? Yes, we are asked to reflect on the topic of water no get enemy. Especially in the context of what we do with my bros here, Mr. Akidisu, right on the beach. I'm sure he will say more about this program. But permit me to wear my cap as someone who appreciates the work of arts. And so when we were asked to speak on this topic, water no get enemy, I had to call up the lyrics of this song once again. I mean, I always sing chorus along with it. But I needed to do a textual analysis of the lyrics to even understand what inspired him to write that song. An artist does not just write for writing's sake. There's something that motivates an artist to write. And so, a few things popped up to me. Number one, I saw the track talk about the universality of water. As the Honorable Commissioner sang, if your child is growing up, he needs water. If you need to cook soup, you need water. Even when your head is hot, you do what? So that's the universality of water. Water is inextricably tied to almost all human activities. The second is, the track was quite explicit on water being a fundamental necessity. Again, I quote, rich man, poor man, doctor, tailor, farmer, everyone needs water. Of course, we are told that between 55 to 60% of our body is water, right? So, water is an absolute necessity. Not just an absolute necessity. In the context of what Fela said, water is a leveler. So it doesn't matter whether you are a PhD holder, whether you are a peasant, whether you are the president. When you are thirsty, water speaks the same language. Therefore, it means that the activist was underscoring a deeper metaphorical meaning centered around the promotion of unity by emphasizing our shared human need for water that transcends social and economic boundaries. And I'm happy that the Honorable Commissioner emphasized on that. If there's anything we will achieve in the context of environmental stewardship, we need unity of purpose. Government alone cannot do it. The private sector alone cannot do it. Civil society organizations alone cannot do it. We must collaborate to make it happen. Again, doing analysis of the lyrics of this song, I saw the constant repetition of phrases. Water, you no get enemy. It wasn't for nothing. In discourse analysis, whenever you see a word or phrase or sentences repeated often, it is for emphasis. It is for emphasis. And also in this case, it was some form of persuasion to accentuate the indispensability of unity in fighting a common cause. We must be united to fight a common cause. And if you take a sociological imagination into the era when this track was released, 1975, you will know that we were under military regime, right? It was very tough getting the military to go back to barracks. Some of you may not understand. I was a students' union activist, and it was in the military era. I know what it took Nigerian students and the civil society to get the military back to barracks. And so the legendary Fela was calling for concerted efforts for us to remind the military that their place is not in governance. We must appreciate the civil rule that we have today. And let me say here, please, for the challenges that we face as a nation, the only way we can surmount them is when we come together. Divided, we fall. And I think that is one of the major challenges we have today as a country. There's no East, there's no West, there's no South, there's no North. Hunger does not have tribe. Insecurity does not have tribe. We must all come together to address the issues that face us. No other one can do it for us. Another connotative message of the track can be interpreted as a call to action against oppressive systems. Of course, his music often carried the messages of social change. Again, we don't change anything by complaining. We change the status quo by taking positive actions. And I think this is where Fela's philosophy and the philosophy of our company align. Fela took bold steps to champion change and to challenge the status quo. In the same way, we took bold steps to challenge the status quo and break into an industry that was dominated by multinationals. And we came in as a Nigerian company, and we are thriving very well. In the African worldview, water is so significant in the affairs of man and even sometimes assumes a deeper spiritual meaning, symbolizing renewal, rebirth, life, vitality, as well as healing and purification. Where I come from, each time kola nut is broken, there's always a prayer that accompanies it. I always hear the elders say, Ndu mmiri, ndu azu, which literally translates the life of water, the life of fish. This embodies the profound principles of harmony, balance, and interdependence. The philosophy acknowledges that the survival of the fish is tied to the well-being of the water, and vice versa. It's a reminder that our individual well-being is linked to the well-being of the community and the environment. Almost akin to the Ubuntu philosophy, right? I exist because you do. So, water, as we know, in its purest form, is very friendly, life-giving, neutral, and sustains humanity and nature. Water does not bear grudges. It has no malice. It cleanses and nourishes. It is the world's most valuable natural resource, one that must be respected, preserved, and managed with care. However, the same water that gives life can also bring destruction, not by its will, but by the will of man. Human negligence and misuse have over time transformed this vital resource into a source of danger. And I must commend the Lagos State government for the pragmatic steps they've taken over the years to address the issue of flooding. As a young bank manager in those days, my office was on Aki Adeshola, overlooking the Bar Beach. If you saw the waves what it used to be. Sometimes we can't even access the office when the bar beach overflows. But that has been contained. And as the Honorable Commissioner said, Eco Atlantic has become a dream come true. I was there last week and I was marveled at what I saw. So kudos to Lagos. So human negligence and misuse of the natural resources have put us where we are. Honorable Commissioner has talked about water pollution due to waste. And I think one of the challenges we have when it comes to waste is that issue of culture. You know, it pains me when I see people empty stuff on the drainages when it is raining because they don't understand the impact on the environment. We also talk about over-extraction. You know, anywhere you look in Lagos, it's boreholes everywhere. I don't think it is sustainable. That it hasn't happened today doesn't mean it will not happen tomorrow. We need to take pragmatic steps to discourage drilling of boreholes by scaling up infrastructure and ensure that people have access to pipe-borne water. So, in all of this, what have we done as an organization, Right Foods Limited? Before I even talk about our partnership with Mr. Akidisu on the Right on the Beach, anyone who is familiar with the food and beverage sector will understand that the issues of water is taken seriously. In the first place, water is the most important ingredient we have in our products. Without water, we can't produce. And so, what we do is to ensure responsible use of water. Globally, the best standard in terms of water use ratio for production of beverage is about 1.7 liter of water to a liter of beverage you produce. As of today, as a company, an indigenous company that is sold on sustainability, that has sustainability mainstream in every aspect of our business, we are very close to that mark. As at the last time, we are 1.79 liter of water per liter of beverage you produce. And I want to believe that in the next 2 years, we should be able to set a world record of even reducing it to 1.6 liter per liter of beverage. Why are we doing that? Water is a finite resource. Water finishes. Don't be deceived. So, use water responsibly so that you don't deny your children yet unborn the opportunity to use water. Now, I'm talking about Right on the Beach. I think we've been in this partnership for about 5 years. Mr. Akidisu sold the idea to us, and we bought into it. And he's been doing a fantastic job with it. I'm sure he's going to talk about it in details. I mean, someone that uses data, blockchain technology, to ensure transparency in whatever we do in that space. I think he needs to be commended. So, as a company, we recognize that protecting water is protecting life. We also understand that the blue economy has the potential to shoot our GDP, according to experts, to $1.5 trillion in the next few years if we properly harness the resources we have. So, they talk about moving our economy to a $1 trillion economy by 2030. It's possible, but we have to look within. We have all it takes to do that. We also believe that Nigeria's 850-kilometer coastline offers immense tourism potential. I mean, most of you big men here, you go to Mauritius for your weddings. Yes or yes? Why do you go there? Because of their blue tourism. You go to Maldives. you go to Greece, you go to Croatia, name them. All those countries, the blue economy, powered by blue tourism, forms a significant part of their GDP. And I think Nigeria, we can also replicate that. So let us find a way to learn from such successful models. In the last 5 years we've been in this partnership, we've cleaned about 15 kilometers of the coastline along Takwa Bay, Elashe, Ibeshe, and Ikare communities. Mr. Akidisu does something that I love so much. He likes to catch them very young. So he has a residency program where he trains young Nigerians and undergraduates on sustainability practices. And so far, about 250 undergraduates have been through this program. And this is quite commendable. A few months ago, my MD and I went to a university here in Nigeria. He was delivering a speech. And so in the audience was a young undergraduate who was sporting our T-shirt, our branded T-shirt. And so my MD asked him to come forward. How did you come about this T-shirt? He said it's through the residency program. So Mr. Ake, thank you so much. Again, about 296 pupils have been sent to school through the process of the plastic recovered in those underserved communities. Through this initiative, we are contributing a modest quota in restoring balance to Nigeria's coastal ecosystem. Now, coming back to the issue of plastics, it's a very interesting topic, especially for us that use plastics as our primary packaging, right? I think the only solution is collaboration. Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. And I want to say that we are really making progress. You know, we need to commend the efforts that Nigerian authorities and the private sector are making to ensure that plastic is translated to wealth. Plastic waste is translated to wealth. I'll give you an example. At about 2018, when we set up the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance as a producer responsibility organization, the cost of a kg of plastic waste, plastic bottle, was about 20 naira in 2018, about 20 naira. As of today, the cost of a kg of plastic waste is between 400 to 600 naira. Why is that so? Because the private sector, working hard to implement the extended producer responsibility organization of the government, went into liberalizing that space and attracting investment. Today we have companies in Nigeria that transform the PET waste to rPET. And already some organizations in our sector are already using recycled PET for their packaging. And I think it's progress. Before, when you come to the streets, everywhere will be littered with plastics. Do you see that anymore? It doesn't happen. In the early 2000s, it was can, aluminum can. All these waste speakers never used to use their eyes to see aluminum can. But today, the same value that was put on aluminum can has been put on PET, post-consumer PET bottles. And this is creating massive job in Nigeria. I think government needs to look into that space, come up with the right policy framework that will encourage more investment in that space. And I believe that that economy, the circular economy, is one of the areas that Nigeria needs to focus on because we can create massive employment there. And I think that is the new oil in Nigeria, if we harness it properly. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about all talks. Last week I was at the Nigerian Economic Summit meeting in Abuja. And I started attending that meeting in 2006. And this year we were still talking about some of the issues that we talked about in 2006. And we had very intelligent people in the room who seemed to know all the challenges of Nigeria and all the solutions. And then the question is, why is it that we are not doing the right thing to solve the problems? In my over almost 20 years of public policy advocacy, I have seen that the reason why most laws we have in Nigeria seem not to be enforceable is the fact that when you are making a law affecting someone, a stakeholder, that stakeholder more often than not is always excluded in the process. Distinguished Senator Ben Bruce was a senator of the Federal Republic. I have been to the Senate and House of Reps on countless number of occasions during public hearing on bills with submissions to make. You will make those submissions, and the next day, that same bill that you had public hearing on will be passed into law without consideration of the inputs that the stakeholders made. And so that is why the laws come out and there's no ownership. So I would recommend that going forward, both the legislature, the executive are represented here on the high table. Let's forge that collaboration. Let's involve the people who are impacted by the laws. They have certain inputs to make that will make those laws to work. Otherwise, we'll end up talking and no action is taken. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening to me, and thank you for patronizing our products. For those of you who go to Silverbed, the only product that is served in Silverbed is our product. So, distinguished Senator, thank you so much for that, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to say the keynote speaker, Tokunbo Philip Wahab, has to leave because he has, I think there's a state executive council meeting he has to attend. I want to thank him for the wonderful things he's doing for Lagos State and how incredible he has been, and all the leaders of Lagos, from Bola Tinubu to the president. Let's give all of them a big round of applause. Lagos is the 5th largest economy in the country. They're doing a great job, and other states should emulate them. Mr. Eze, thank you so very much for the wonderful speech. I had no idea you were once a musician. You explained the lyrics of the Fela song very, very well. And the whole time you were talking, I found out that Mr. Disu's name was mentioned like 1 million times. It's like this is his event. Listen, you're going to come up next, but unfortunately for me, this show started late. I have a 3 o'clock flight to catch to Abuja, so I would have to leave the same way the guest speaker left. But the debate, there's a question and answer session coming on after Mr. Disu speaks. I want to say that I'm having a great time. It's very, very, very educational being here today. Mr. Eze, you raised the issue about being in the Senate or the House and the debates you've had, and why the laws are not made in consultation with the private sector. Well, in that case, all of you are to blame. When people seek public office, vote for smart, intelligent people that will change Nigeria. Please. It's very, very important. If you vote for people who have no conscience, no intelligence level to understand complicated issues, we are just as guilty as the people who are in office. I said earlier, regardless of what anybody thought about Fela, he was incredibly smart, incredibly intelligent, and any man who could break down a complex political, economic, or social issue and sing a song in broken English, that man is a genius. There are very few people like him. Very few people like him in this world. Now, Mr. Eze, you gave an incredible presentation, and I'm sure when the people start asking questions, you'll be able to answer them. Mr. Disu, it's a pity I'm not going to listen to you, but there's going to be a tape. We're going to air this on Silverbird TV. I apologize once again. We started slightly late. I got a 3 o'clock flight to catch, but I want to tell you, I've enjoyed this. Where's Yenny? Yenny, I invited myself here after 16 years. Now, a lot of you know Yenny is in love right now. When Yenny is in love, she's very quiet. Yenny, it's okay to be in love. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Even in the Kuti family, there's love, right? Your dad fell in love with 50 women. That's okay. All right, so listen. I want to say it's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you all very much. It's unfortunate I have to leave, but I'm sure the show goes on. This guy, come over here, man. You're taking over from me. Thank you very much. Have a great day and enjoy yourself. Take care.
Can we have a round of applause one more time for the charming Senator Ben Bruce as he leaves? So, Mr. Disu, would you like to come up?
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here and for the invite. I'm going to stand on existing protocols and try and engage all of you in the conversation, which really is the struggle. My earliest memories of Fela, I guess we must start there, they are one of my actual earliest memories in life. My uncle used to run, was the manager of Surulere nightclub. And my dad, once my mom wasn't around and he was supposed to be looking after me, would take me to Surulere nightclub with him. And they would put me in my uncle's office and I'll go to sleep there. I could hear the music, but I never saw it. And it was much later in my life I got to experience the great Fela, and he shaped the character of who I am indelibly and left his mark. May his soul rest in peace. You know, I'd like to. This is supposed water has no enemy, and we're here to talk about the blue economy and how it affects us. I'll first of all like to start on Rite on the Beach, which is the project that I started running in 2020, and I'll try to quickly go through how I came about it and what exactly it means to me to be an activist. So in 2020, the world locked down. I was on the beach, and the beach was filthy. Everybody was thinking, what's going to happen? Is this the end of the world? How are we going to deal with it? And if it isn't the end of the world, what do we do going forward? Are we going to keep on living like we were living before we were faced with that? Or are we going to be able to make a change in our lives? And I guess this is where everything starts from. When you look at yourself honestly in the mirror, you look at the world you live in, which is a wonderful, wonderful place, and you think, how can I make a difference? And so that was my starting point. And it's called Rite on the Beach because it's about doing what's right on the beach. So in the first year, we moved a ton of plastic. We cleaned up the plastic in Takwa Bay. We moved a ton of plastic off the beach. It took us a year. And in doing that, we showed the pathway for getting the plastic off the beach. Then it took us 3 years to remove 30 tons of plastic from the beach, all the legacy bottles. We designed a system working with students in the universities and with the community around, and they came up with a way to do this to make sure it was transparent, and it went to help the community. This year, we moved 40 tons of plastic in just 30 days from the city of Lagos, using all that we had learned. And so, thank you. And so it's a collaborative process. Things take time, and you have to be patient. You know, His Excellency Mr. Wahab has just been here, and Ekuma is here as well, talking about their own journey. You know, things take time. You have to be patient. You have to be diligent. You have to stay on it to get the results. You know, we in Lagos were always so, oh, we want it now. Oh, the flood is happening again. The flood is happening again. Well, yeah, because you've done nothing to change it. You know, these things are, as they said, Lagos, when my dad was born in 1936, there were 50,000 people in Lagos. Today, there are 20 million people in Lagos. This is a big challenge, and it is a challenge that the government and a lot of people are working very hard to change. You know, today I would like to also speak about, you know, touch on a few things Lagos State has done that has had a big change. When they talk about this activism around this blue economy, in 2021, I noticed that there were no birds and there were no crabs on the beach between Ilashi and Takwa Bay, which is where I normally walk. And so that is why I started all these things. When Lagos State banned styrofoam, if you're on the beach, and I'm sure you've seen it in our waterways, styrofoam looked like food to fish. And so that is why, you know, if you know, everybody would have noticed that the cost of fish in the market had gone up inexorably. But if you look at from the this year, on the section of beach we clean, there's one part of it that leads to some wetlands in the back, a corridor that we created just to bring these birds back. And in just after a year of them banning the styrofoam, I mean, we've been working on that corridor for 3-4 years. But last year, these birds, the black-billed kites, came back to the state, showing the amazing resilience of nature, but also the effect of individual action or group action when it comes to protecting the economy. You know, I also want to speak on, while I'm here, you know, like, when you have 20 million people and you're trying to sort them out, this is a great resource. It is an amazing thing that we have. You know, the next 100 years in this world are going to be driven by the populations in cities like Lagos, Sao Paulo, basically what they're calling the global south. This is where all the economic gain in the next 100 years is going to come from, as we move another 1 billion or more people out of poverty and into standards of living that dignify a human being. And right now, when they talk about people living under the bridges and stuff like that, this is the challenge for a city like Lagos. You know, we are faced with these 4,000 people coming in, and we must take these 4,000 people, we must transform their lives. We must transform their lives for the generations that are going to come and put them into this new economy. And it's not an easy thing to do, and there must be kudos given to the government of Lagos State all the time. What is the blue economy? The blue economy is an economy that is run around the conservation of marine. So the life in the waters, the quality of the water, everything to do with the water. When the water becomes the driver of your economy and you use it and you know, you engineer it, that is what is called the blue economy. Now, Lagos State is very low-lying. Most areas in Lagos State are underneath below sea level. And so we face unique problems when it comes to this. Not only this, we have 20 million people to feed and to house and to clothe and to transport around this environment. It's a big challenge, but it is also a massive opportunity. It gives us so much soft capital to work with. We've got the people, we've got the beautiful natural landscape, and then you can use this, soft capital. I mean, I'll give you an example. A day, crayfish. It is like basically a condiment for us in Lagos, smoked fish, all these things that we use for protein for these people. This is a soft capital. If we didn't have the water, we just won't be able to feed as many people as we do in Lagos. And so these are things that we have to work on and to conserve. When we're talking about the blue economy, then we're also talking about the global economy and how can we merge our needs and our aspiration to the global economy. Because as I said, a city like Lagos belongs to the world. People like to say that Lagos is no man's land. No, Lagos belongs to the world. It's one of the very few global cities that exist. We're an international location and an important location in the world. So, knowing this, it is pertinent that we see any problem in Lagos. It's a global problem. It's not a local problem. And so I'm glad that Michael Dillon, my good friend, is here. And members of the international, I can see members of the international, the world all around here. People from Germany, people from America, people from France, people from London, although it's Nigeria now, but so many people from all over the world. And it's wonderful to see them come here because of Fela to take part in this discussion and in everything that we're saying. Right now, there's never ever been a situation like this for addressing the problems, the global problems that we're facing. We're in an era now called the Anthropocene. It means that there's less resources, to sustain us as a planet than we take off more than we're adding to it. We're in danger. As humans, the world will go on forever. But we as humans, we're a burden. We're overburdening the natural resources that the world has. And so we have to grow and develop with this in mind. How do you manage your resources? How do you conserve and manage your resources so that they last? In Lagos is part of cities 40 and so many other things that say we must conserve 30% of our natural land and everything. And for us, this is mostly the waterways. And so it is pertinent that when we're developing Lagos, we develop it with this conservation. It is pertinent that we don't allow Lagos to just develop without the safeguards that are going to protect the indigenes of Lagos, the citizens of Lagos, and Lagos for the whole world for years to come. Because one of the main features of the Anthropocene is because of our actions with carbon, with burning of fuel, petrol and all of that, the earth has now warmed to such an extent that our polar caps are melting. Polar caps melt, the ocean levels rise. Ocean levels rise, a city like Lagos is in trouble. How do we work to protect this? This is the big challenge for the generation at hand. And it is such because there is no, it hasn't been done before. So this is a big challenge for the generation at hand that exists now. And it is really important that they understand this challenge. It is not business as usual. For those of us who are in my generation, everything has changed in Lagos. This is not the Lagos that I grew up in. The Lagos I grew up in was paradise. The rains, the weather, everything has changed. And so to imagine that another generation, my children's generation, are going to come through this change and it's going to impact them in ways that we cannot even think about is slightly scary. So I'm glad that people are looking I'll look into it, But as I said, we are now modern men. My child is a very different individual than I am. When I was in university, there was no internet. And now we've got AI. All the information in the world, all the knowledge in the world is at your fingertip. We have crypto, which means that we've developed just the way in the 70s, the petrodollar gave us so much money, and then you had digital money to be able to develop places like Asia and China. We now have crypto and all those kind of things, increasing the money supply, giving you cheap access to finance, all sorts of things that are going to mean that we as Africa can use these things to develop ourselves, with the help of the globe. And then we have blockchain. So for once, you can actually hold everybody to accountability. It is irrefutable. The ledgers are there, so we've got transparency. So we've got so many things coming together in this time, and these are things that are going to form the building block of the next 20, 30 years, so it is very important that the youth understand this. They understand what activism is, because when they say activism, it means, going out there and doing your part to ensure that this world is a better place, because that is what Fela did. It wasn't as if, it wasn't about the fame, it wasn't about anything. It was about him seeing something that needed to be said and needed to be done, and finding the most efficient way of doing this and saying it while still living your life, And this is what Fela stood for, and I think this is what Celebration stands for, to remind us that we all have a collective duty to stand together to move humanity forward as one. And I'd like to thank Celebration for having me here today, and all of you for coming here to listen, and I look forward to many, many more years. Thank you. Yeah!
Can we give it up one more time for Mr. Akitunde Disu? Like I mentioned earlier, he's been a real trooper, because he only had less than 6 hours notice to come and replace the scheduled speaker. So, Mr. Akitunde Disu, one more time. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems that we've lost a few of our speakers, and we might have to embark on a new policy this afternoon. I'm not sure about the validity of a question and answer session, because I understand Mr. Eze also has some appointments in his office which cannot wait. So I would like to propose that we have members of the audience make their own contributions as they choose to. And in this regard, Ambassador Olukone, is he here? Can you come up? Thank you. Any other person who would like to talk? Auntie, can we have any other person? If there's no other person after Madam Ransom Kuti, we call it a day.
Thank you very much. My name is Ayo Olukone. Was 15. I'm now 70. I was 15 years old when I came across Fela. 1970. And then since then, I've been part and parcel of Afrobeat, as well as Fela as well. I was a career diplomat, 35 years in the Nigerian Foreign Service. And I was in New York, I was in Tel Aviv, I was also in Israel for 4 years, in Vienna, and I ended up as High Commissioner of Nigeria to Australia with concurrent accreditations to New Zealand, Fiji, and Papua New Guinea. I'm very glad what Fela debate has come to represent, an intellectual academic exercise that represents what Fela is all about. Mr. Disu, I will give you my card, because I am also the Vice President of Fight Against Desert Encroachment. I have a paper on blue economy, because I had a master's in international law and diplomacy, but I serve at the Nigerian mission to the UN, and I would like to give you my card subsequently. The commissioner left. I cornered him because the question and issues of water in Lagos, when I was acting High Commissioner in Nairobi in Kenya, I was also closely involved with UNEP, and we spoke about the question and issues of the possibility of Lagos disappearing. And we worked closely on that, including UN Habitat. I want to thank Lagos State for what they've done in terms of what has happened, but I think we need to work closely together. You raised the question and issues of NGOs and all of that. There's also a gender dimension as far as the question of Lagos development and the issues of, we can't even dispose of municipal solid waste in Lagos. It's a big crisis. And I think we sincerely hope that we can do something along those lines. Let me now quickly come back to the question of Fela. For me, when I was High Commissioner of Nigeria in Australia, I used the song, you know, the go slow. It was what, when you called the Nigerian embassy in Canberra, that was what you would hear. And people said, this kind of Nigerian ambassador, where they play Fela music, the man will soon lose his job. But what happened was that it attracted a lot of Nigerians to the mission. Because when they heard Fela's music, it's a small little section of it that talks about the saxophone and other things like that. For me, as an ambassador of Nigeria, Fela Kuti was one of the best things that happened to us. It was the only cultural product we could sell. During the crisis of the Abacha, and I think we want to thank the family, we want to thank Yeni and each and every one. Finally, I have a copy of the playbill here. And those of us who saw Fela musical on Broadway, I saw it twice. Ricky, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, at 37 acts. And then I saw it at the Eugene O'Neill Theater. When I asked Lendell, the lead producer, where are the Nigerians in it? He said we saw an international cultural product in the international environment, and we decided to put the Fela musical on Broadway. I think it's a reflection of what has happened, the Fela genre across the world, and so on. I'd like to present this playbill to Yeni. Yeni, if you don't have any objection, Yeni, can I please do? I know you most likely have a copy of this in the Fela Museum. Nonetheless, this is the original that played at 37 acts. I will please crave your indulgence. Who else is with her? Who wants to come? Is still there? I'm sure this can find a place somewhere. You never know, one of these days when collectors' items are looking for Fela's papers, and then they would say that, please come. They want to buy this for $1 million. Don't forget, this is it. I've kept it. I was looking through my papers. This is the Fela playbill. Those of us that you know, this is it. This was the original. Most likely, I think you had a copy. You don't have a copy. I better laminate the thing because it is possible to right.
We'll put it in the museum. So maybe Kule is around. Kule runs the museum. Come and pick it up. This is for the museum. He's hiding.
Well, thank you once again. Those of us, a 15-year-old boy, Oram, who met Fela and continue at 70. The struggle, they say it's a luta continua. But thank you very much for each and every one of you for coming here today. Definitely, we can never, all the way down under in Australia, even in Israel, 1997 when Fela died, a young man came to the mission. They wanted to celebrate Fela. And when they went to the ambassador said, the only person who can be of help to you is Ayo. Take him to the Council of Culture, Political and Information. And you'll be shocked at what happened in Ayakon Street on a nightclub when we celebrated Fela at that particular period. Thank you once again. Mr. Adib, I would like to give you a copy of my card. so that we can work together, because on the question and issues of environment and sustainability is key and very important. Egbe. Egbe. Thank you very much for each and every one of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Lukon. And so, our last contribution from Anti-MBC, and then Shegun Bokno will come up and give a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody. Are you still here? Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I'm Miss Yemisi Ransom Kuti, and my points are really targeted at the Commissioner for Environment. Thank you so much, our speakers. We loved everything you said. But I think we can all rally around these points that I want to make. Because we all know that prevention is better than cure. The governments always want us to do so many things, support them in so many ways, but I think we can prescribe to them some solutions that will ensure that we are all able to solve the problems that we face. One of the questions I wanted to ask the Commissioner Wahab is, why are we having open drains in the city of Lagos? Everywhere you go, the drains are covered. If the drains are covered, people will not drop waste inside the drains. So can we all agree to campaign on that one? Number two, it is often the state that blocks the drains as well. They put up buildings that block drains. So we have to ask them to lead by example, not just in the drainage area, but every other thing they are doing. When we see our government behaving in a way that inspires us, we are likely to follow. If they are more frugal in the way they govern, they don't waste our money. If they secure our environment more effectively, we will also follow suit. So we would like to see from them a sustained maintenance structured schedule for doing the road. Is it every quarter you are going to do it? Have the schedule out there. Let the people know that in September we are going to drain, we are going to clear your drains. Let that maintenance culture be part of how the government works, so that it gives us less stress on collaborating with them on some of these issues. And finally, my recommendation to them: you cannot say you are surprised when you see something when you are government. When you say you've built a bridge and then you are surprised that some people are sleeping under, why should you be surprised? You are the government. Your eyes should be everywhere. Your police should be patrolling every space. So before anybody settles down to stay and remain somewhere, you will be the first person to say, oh boy, what are you doing here? So that is my appeal to the government, to lead by example and to create best practices that lessens the burden of keeping our nation clean, safe, protected. Let them lead by example, and Nigerians will be delighted to follow them and create that environment that will make all of us safe, healthy, and richer. Because a lot of the money that we can make is being eroded by these challenges that we face. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ricky Steen. Fela was my friend, and I was his manager. I've been coming to this Nigeria for 45 years now. Nigeria is the most frustrating, annoying, infuriating. What else? Well, however, but whenever I get on the plane to come to this Nigeria, I've got a smile on my face. Why is that? Why is that? Because you're beautiful. Because I love you. Because you've got spirit to put up with all the nonsense you have to deal with on a daily basis. I respect you for it. And I only hope, I'm not a prayer guy, but I only hope that you get what you deserve in this country. And I'm also aware of the fact that it doesn't just come to you. You can't sit there and wait for it to come to you. We've all got to do something. We've got to come together. I heard people saying that earlier. On an environmental basis, on a cultural basis. Look at Lagos. Why is it all the musicians are here in Lagos? Because of that spirit. Because of that spirit that I find here. I wish you all fortune. I love you.
There you go. Again.
Everybody say, yeah, yeah.
Always good to see you.
Do you know what? It's amazing. Thank you all for being here because you've stayed. You come here every year. You listen to all of the intellectual topics. And hopefully in some manner or way it will affect you. But this particular one, water no get enemy. It's very close to home because some of us like to be near water. And if you understand the amount of money that could be made or generated from the beer economy, Miami alone generates over $790-something billion. So just imagine if we had that in Lagos. Anyway, second base. On this note, I'd like to thank all the moderators, everybody who has come and gone. Ben Bruce, let me get the names right. Akintunde Disi, who just left, thank you very much for coming. He's a serious advocate for making sure our beaches are clean and vibrant. May the good work continue. On that note, if I can find Senator Ben Bruce, thank you very much. Please,
before he ends it, I just wanted to say something. Today's symposium is a symposium with a difference because all our speakers have left. So I think we get the award for a symposium without speakers today. Please give us that award. So, and as they are not here, I would have wanted to say this while they were here, but since they're not here, maybe you can pass on the message to them. Government should make sure that we don't have problems with the drains. Why I'm saying this is, they watch it, one will come, they will look the other way. 2 will come, they will look. 5, 15, then it will become 1,000. When it becomes 5,000, everybody will start to run helter-skelter. Yeah, they are building on the drain, they are doing this, they are doing that. But if we had stopped it at the very beginning, it would not have become. I'm bringing this up because where I live, there is an NNPC pipeline. When we moved there, you saw the NNPC sign every day. When you pass, you will see, don't come here, don't come here. Some people will come, they will stay on it. NNPC people will come, they will clear them. Today, there is a full-fledged market. I can't even see the sign again. Then one day it will explode. They will say, hey, they came, but what were you doing? So, while we speak to ourselves, we must speak to the government too. let's stop this thing before it escalates. Let's bring this thing so that I'm speaker today. I turned myself to speaker. So let us start to fight this problem before it becomes what we cannot solve. So that they will not say, it's ethnic problem. Oh. They are targeting the Igbos. No. Before you target the Igbos, solve the problem. Before you target the Hausas, solve the problem. So, please, help me pass this message on. Thank you.
Please give her another round of applause, please. That was a very passionate speak and very truthful as well. Because it's better to solve the problem before it becomes a problem. Everybody say, yeah. Okay. And in that note, there's a lady that's selling recycled products outside. She's literally taking waste that we like clogged up our drains and everything and made products of it. So please get to go by and patronize her. So as I was saying, want to thank Senator Ben Bruce, Commissioner Tokunbo Wahab, Mr. Ekuma Eze from Rite Foods, and Mr. Akintunde Disu from Rite at the Beach. Also like to thank our sponsors, Guinness, which is now owned by the Tolerant Group, Lagos State, and in the form of the Lagos State Culture and Tourism. The Kingdom of Netherlands, who have been a friend of, Mr. Deline has been a friend of the family. Hello, can we hear, please? Thank you very much. Who has been the Kingdom of Netherlands. Mr. Deline has been a friend of the family for a very long time, so thank you. Right Foods, Just Foods, Chelsea, The Plug, our media partners, New Central, Trace TV, Checkers, Custards, Cortis Hotel, and Fearless. And if I've forgotten anybody, I do apologize. But most important, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming, taking your time to listen to us. And we will see you again next year. Everybody say, yeah. Most important, Celebration Organizing Committee, and thank you, Fela.
trendybeats.com.
As with everything in the world, there are lots of challenges, but I must commend the team. They always come about to making sure that everything works and is implemented or finishes as it should. You've got sponsorship issues, you've got situations where some of the speakers maybe have, you have teething issues and other issues as well. But in the end, everybody pulls together. I must commend Mr. Femi Odebomi. His methodical manner in making sure it works, it always pulls it through. And also all other members of the organizing committee, Kalakota Shrine, and all our sponsors and our media partners as well. So in the end, it's despite all the many issues, I'm not going to go into them, I've gone into a few, but we always get the job done.
A lot. These are very vital issues. We decided 2 years ago to move away from our usual political point of view to environmental issues because they've come to the forefront of the imperatives that humanity must look after to make sure that we are still around on this planet for a long time. The way we've been carrying on, there's no guarantee that our world will not turn on us, which is already happening because of man's abuse of nature, some of which we heard today. So that is why we thought talking about sustainability and environmental issues would be a good way to sensitize the people as to how to live their lives going forward and make sure that all these harmful effects of weather changes, climate change, flash flooding, coastal erosion, the submergence of part of the low-lying areas of the whole world are addressed. But in truth, from what I understand, from a deep level, I'm not sure there's much we can do to reverse this trend. I think Inevitably, more will happen as the time goes on, and one day we will see how the issues settle. But certainly we are living in what I would call a very difficult period for humanity on Earth, in which many things that are going on now are beyond our control and beyond our perception. But definitely we've contributed hugely to it, otherwise it wouldn't be happening. Nature is actually fighting back, and we can't handle it, because nobody can control nature, no human being.